I believe that everyone should put together their dream rifle at some point. Spare no expense. Use exactly the parts that you've always wanted. You can feel a difference when you shoot it between something really nice and something kind of cheap. How to build the perfect rifle. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical, and that's what we're discussing today because building is better than buying, at least in my personal opinion. Now, to me, this is the perfect rifle. To you, it might be something a little bit different, but I'm gonna go into what made my perfect rifle, my dream rifle build, and maybe you can get some good ideas from it and build your own perfect dream rifle. So the first thing that you're gonna do is you're gonna start with a stripped lower, and it's gonna be a stripped ambidextrous lower. This is non-negotiable in 2025. If you're building your dream gun, pony up the dollars for an ambi lower. Now that can be an LMT, it can be an ADM like this, a Radian. The Griffin Armament Mark II here is a really good budget ambi lower, has the exact same controls as this ADM, just doesn't have the fancy machining there that makes it look all Gucci. But get you an ambi lower. I'm left-handed, but I shoot right-handed. But you know what? Ambi lowers are great for right-handed people too, because this bolt catch and release that you can use with your trigger finger is sweet. And you know what? I actually use the left side mag release quite a bit too, shooting right-handed. I forgot how much I enjoy shooting this thing with the suppressor, and the Geisley buffer system just feels nice. Now that you've gotten yourself an ambi lower, you are on your way to building the perfect rifle. The way my builds always start is I think about them for a while and I kind of worry about how much it's going to cost me, and then I buy a lower and then it's off to the races. And the thing about building a rifle, I can afford this almost $5,000 gun easier than I can afford to buy a PSA. You know why? Because I don't buy it all at once. When you buy a full-blown built rifle from the factory, well, then you got to come up with whatever it is, $1,200, $1,500, $1,800, depending on what kind of tier level of rifle you're getting. When you build one, you can buy one part at a time and go from there. And so it might cost you more in the long run, but at the time, it only costs you a little bit every time you get a new part. So you start with that ambi lower. That's going to be expensive, more expensive than a non-ambi lower, but you know what? You're gonna love it, I promise. Ever since I put together my first ambi lower, I will not buy non-ambi lowers anymore. Now, the next thing you're gonna do is not get a lower parts kit. You know why? Because you're gonna pick all of the parts that you want specifically. A lower parts kit, you just get a generic group of parts. That's fine for your first Anderson Poverty Pony build. When you're building your dream rifle, don't do that, because you're gonna put a Geisley trigger in it. And in my opinion, you want the Geisley SDE, that is my favorite, or the SSAEX. I think that a light, crisp two-stage trigger is an amazing thing. It really helps with longer range precision shooting, but it's also great for fast, up close and personal stuff. And you're not just gonna use a Geisley trigger, you're gonna get a good a safety, a good charging handle. I really like Radian. Radian Raptor charging handles are still my favorite to this day. I just think that they feel really good. I think that they look really good. They come in multiple colors, so like you can kind of match the theme of your build. You know, I've got FDE ones, I've got black ones, I've got green ones. You can match it to your build. I also really like the Radian safety. Now, a lot of people really seem to like the FCD or the Badger safety. Just make sure you get a good one, because a good safety does make a big difference. I like when it just feels like it clicks into place, and I like a short throw 45-degree ambi safety. This video is sponsored by Venice AI. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Venice AI yet, but it's pretty cool. AI, artificial intelligence, it is like the hot new thing the last couple of years. Everybody's heard of ChatGPT, DeepSeek. Well, DeepSeek's software is open source. So Venice AI basically used that, but what they did is they made it private and permissionless. See, the thing is DeepSeek, yeah, you can use its incredible features to do all of the things that AI can do for you, but all of your information gets stored on Chinese servers and, of course, can also be censored by the Chinese. Well, Venice AI uses that same software, but it is private. You don't have to worry about any of your private information getting, stolen by the Chinese, which is pretty sweet. ChatGPT is the other big one that everybody seems to really be using a lot for, well, as a tool to do all kinds of incredible things. But one of the guys on the board of ChatGPT was also on the board of the NSA, which we all know what they do. They spy on us. Well, Venice AI, you don't have to worry about that either. So check out Venice AI using my link, first link in the description down below. That link is venice.ai/sawtooth tactical. And in fact, you can get 20% off a pro plan using code sawtooth tactical. So check it out. If you want to use all of the powerful things that AI can give you, but privately and securely and encrypted, use my link, again, venice.ai/sawtooth tactical, 20% off with code sawtooth tactical. So depending what stripped blower you get, it's either going to be fully stripped or like this ADM came with, my mag release already installed, the ambi mag release. It came with the ambi bolt catch. It came with the takedown pins. But like the Griffin here just came with that ambi bolt release bolt catch assembly. So I like FCD, Forward Controls design parts. They make great small parts. They do cost a little more, but they're very high quality, and dimples just look good. These kind of dimples, but we'll get there in a minute. So you're going to put together your lower. I really like the B5 Systems furniture, the Type 23 grip, and the B5 Bravo stock. As you can see, I pretty much put those on everything, but I like one that is more vertical. So pick whatever you like, but that's what I like. I like the B5 stuff. I think it looks good, and I think it feels good. Function over form, but if you're putting together your dream rifle, you want it to look good too. Now the next thing you're going to do is your buffer system. And I think that there's a couple of ways to go with this. I really like the Geissele Super 42 system. I've talked about it on this channel a lot. All of my 5.56 guns run the Super 42 system now. I've got the Super 42 H2 in my 14.5 inch and my 16 inch. And I've got the Super 42 H3 in the 10.3 inch Mark 18 and the 11.5 inch. If you're shooting suppressed, which for a dream rifle you're going to be, the Super 42 system, I think it helps a lot. The recoil, especially, and we're going to get into gas system in a minute, but the right gas system combined with the right buffer system is going to make for a very soft shooting, very controllable rifle. Another way to go that seems to be really popular these days is the A5 system. So just figure out what you want, but Springco springs, or in my opinion, Geissele braided Super 42 springs, both a really good way to go. And that's pretty much your lower. So now, upper receiver. So a lot of people seem to think that the upper doesn't matter. And to an extent that's true, but if you're gonna build out your dream gun, at least get a quality upper receiver. The one I've used here is the Volter MUR. MUR stands for Modular Upper Receiver. The reason it's modular, I guess, is because your forward assist here can be removed. I don't see any reason to remove it. I even installed the Forward Controls EPC here, replaced the plastic one that came with the upper, but I didn't have to remove this to do that either. There's a little C-clamp in here you can remove. Get that little bar that it, moves on in and out. It was not difficult. And I do believe in spending the extra money on some FCD parts, just kind of Gucci up your rifle a little bit, make it look really nice. A while ago, I got one of these Magpul T-Mags, just because I thought the green would look good on this gun. And I've never used it yet. I've heard good and bad things, so let's see how she does. Now your upper receiver is what houses the most important parts of your rifle, the barrel and the bolt carrier group, and you don't want to skimp here. But you also don't have to spend a fortune. I used a Roscoe barrel on this gun and it has been fantastic. I also used a Roscoe barrel on this build. I really like Roscoe barrels and they're not expensive. If you want the cream of the crop, go with the Criterion Core. But Roscoe has treated me really well. I think that they're gassed really well and they're as accurate as I can be. Now, if you're doing a full-length build that's not an SBR, mid-length gas system. Don't go carbine length. I tell you this from experience. This gun right here, carbine length gas system, same exact buffer system as this one. This one has a mid-length gas system, and the difference is night and day. This gun is extremely soft shooting, even with a high back pressure suppressor on it. This one, I mean, it's 5.56. There's not a whole lot of recoil, but this one recoils much harder than this one. That mid-length gas system will just soften things up in a major way. Now, use a good high-quality gas block as well. It's a pretty integral part to the whole system here. I've got a BCM gas block on there, and then I've also got a BCM ion bond tan bolt carrier group. I think the OEM for BCM is Microbest, and they make really great bolt carrier groups. I've got a Microbest Chrome in my Mark 18 also. Very happy with it. It's very easy to clean. It's made out of really good stuff, high pressure tested, magnetic particle inspected, and they're just meant to last and to be used hard. Don't skimp and buy a cheap, shitty bolt carrier group. Spend a little bit more money because that is something that can fail. Palmetto State Armory, 11.5 inch right here. The only bolt I've ever had break is the PSA one. My BCM, my Microbest have been going strong. So use quality parts there. Now, from there, we've got a barrel now. We've got a bolt carrier group. We've got the parts that make the gun run. Your handguard, I think, is one of the most important parts that I think often gets overlooked. But it's something that you interact with the entire time you're using your gun, and it's how you're going to attach any accessories to it. And so get a good handguard. This Geisley Mark 8 was not cheap, but you know what? I freaking love it. The thing is bulletproof. I mean, not really. It's aluminum. It's not bulletproof, but it is tough. I mean, if you look at, it's kind of hard to see with the suppressor on here, but if you look at the shape of it, it's kind of got the same shape as like a quad rail, but without being Picatinny. It's M-LOK. And that just gives it a lot of strength, a lot of rigidity, and, you know, it's just solid. It's kind of big in your hand, but I kind of like that. And at the same time of having M-LOK at your 3, 6, and 9 with Picatinny on top, it also has M-LOK at these offset positions, which makes mounting a light very slick. Even with this Otter Creek Labs polonium case suppressor, the buffer system from Geisley here, the Super 42 H2, I don't even get much gas back in my face, which is really nice. So as we just removed the suppressor there, we're going to talk about the muzzle device in a moment, but first, M-LOK and Picatinny mounting on your handguard. If you're going to get an M-LOK handguard, get M-LOK accessories. Do not use Picatinny rail sections to mount things to your M-LOK handguard. If you're going to do that, you might as well get a quad rail like the Daniel Defense Riz 2 there. If you're going to use an M-LOK handguard, get M-LOK accessories. It makes no sense to use Picatinny rail sections on an M-LOK handguard. Now, I think a vertical foregrip or a legitimate, significant hand stop is really good. something to pull the rifle back into your shoulder, but also something that is going to index your hand in the same place every time to where your thumb is right where your button is to control your light. Now, I have been shooting with night vision a lot lately. This gun will be getting a laser aiming module soon. Doesn't have one yet because when I built it, I didn't have night vision yet. Most people don't have night vision, but so we're not going to talk about that on this build just because the only gun I have with a LAM so far is this one here, but they all will get set up for that in the future. Now your light is also very important. Bad things happen at night. I like mod light. Mod light is not cheap. It's going to cost you some money, but any quality light is. Whether you go with Surefire, mod light, Cloud Defensive, Arisaka, Malkoff, once you put the whole thing together, it's going to cost you some dough because you need a body, you need a battery, you need a head, and you want one that's going to have a lot of lumens and a lot of candela and, you know, really cut through and light things up. Because whether you go shoot at night or not, if you're going to use this possibly ever as a defensive gun, you got to be able to identify your targets. And like I said, bad things happen at night. If you see behind me, all of these guns have lights on them, and for good reason. Your switch matters a lot, and your mounting system matters a lot. I use Arisaka mounts, this one, because of the way this handguard is. I use their inline mount, which is very slick. It looks like the light just floats there. It's in nice and close to the rail. And then I have cable management with an FCD M-Log cable management panel. This has like channels inside it that your cables can run through. They work great. I've used them on multiple guns. I love them. And then I really like the mod button here. Unity with their hot button is really good. There's some good switches. Just pick the kind that you like. I just happen to like the mod button. Now, we were talking about muzzle devices because if it's your dream gun, you're gonna run it suppressed. So make sure that you get a muzzle device that is a suppressor mount. The EOTech and magnifier combo, I think, is my favorite optic setup. You have basically the best 1x in the game. And for a little bit farther shots, use that magnifier. Love the 2.26 inch height you get with the Unity risers and the flip to center mount. And I gotta say, having an ambi lower is nice too. This rifle is a 14.5 inch pinned and welded. So it was imperative that I picked the right muzzle device because pinned and welded, it's not really removable. I mean, there's ways, but you don't want to pick the wrong one if it's going to basically be permanent. I've got the Silencer Co. ASR system, and I put this ASR muzzle devices on all my 5.56 guns. I have an ASR Bravo mount on my Otter Creek Labs Polonium K here. So I can run this suppressor on any of my 5.56 guns, and I just switch it between them, and I do, and it works great that way. I also really like Rearden. I've got Rearden on my 300 Blackout and my 9mm AR here. Rearden gets a big thumbs up from me. In fact, I think that it might be the best system out there, but ASR works very good as well. It has a locking collar here, so you don't have to worry about the thing unthreading while you're shooting or anything like that. I've put a lot of rounds through this can on 4 different guns, not had a single issue. So I think ASR is a good system, and Rearden also very good. There's other good systems too, but do your research. Now, let's come back a little bit from there and talk about optics. You want some magnification. Now, I'm saying that while you can see a few guns I have that don't have magnification. But those guns are mostly for shorter range stuff. 9mm. You're not shooting 9mm out to 600 yards. Mark 18, yeah, I could take it out a little bit farther if I wanted to, but this magnifier is also on a QD. And I have the optic on the Mark 18 at the same 2.26 inch height as I do on this one. So I can QD this off and run it on that Mark 18 if I want. Magnification is good, but you also really want a very good 1x. You're going to be using that probably more than you're going to be shooting with magnification. At least I do. And so EOTech, I mean, happens to be my favorite. Yes, it doesn't have the best battery life, but it's got a big window. It's got very clear glass. It's got that donut of death reticle, which I absolutely love. And so it's just very quick and easy to acquire targets. I like to have my optics on risers, not only because I use night vision now, but even before I use night vision, it just makes for a more comfortable shooting position. You don't have to get your head right down on the stock. You can, have your head up. Your situational awareness is about you. I think risers are good. 2.26 inch is not a ridiculous height for an optic. And then that way you can use this flip to center mount. Now, you don't have to go with the EOTech holographic with the magnifier. You can go with an LPVO, but just go with something that is high quality. I've got an LPVO on my 16 inch with an offset red dot. It's a cheaper LPVO and it gets the job done, but it's not the same as a really good high quality one with very high quality glass. And that's pretty much the rifle. The very last thing here is a sling. You do need a sling, and get a good sling. I've got some cheaper slings that I put on my cheaper rifles, and they work fine. But I really like these Blue Force Gear Vickers slings. It's what I've been putting on my last couple builds. They're just much higher quality. You want something that you can loosen and tighten on the fly very easily so that, when you want your gun, well, we'll just do this real quick. See if we can do it without screwing up the microphone. But you want to be able to pull it up tight on you very easily. And then when you go to shoot, be able to loosen it up quickly and easily as well. Not the easiest thing to do right here in the studio behind the camera, but you get what the point I'm trying to make. A high quality sling is very important. Sling, light, optic, those are the three things that really matter. The whole thing matters. Your handguard matters. Your barrel and your bullet carrier group really matter. But you need a high quality light, high quality optic, and a good sling on any defensive fighting rifle. Now you've put together your perfect rifle. This is, in my opinion, my perfect rifle. Now, this is a 14.5 inch. I actually like shorter barrels generally. I love the Mark 18. I love my 300 Blackout. I think 11.5 inches is like the perfect kind of dual barrel length. But if you want something that's going to have a little bit more muzzle velocity, be able to reach out to farther distances with less bullet drop, then a little bit longer barrel length does you well. I don't really like anything longer than 14.5, to be quite honest. That 1.5 inches between 16 and 14.5 does make a difference, especially once you put a suppressor on the end. A 16-inch rifle feels really long. So figure out what barrel length you want. One nice thing about 14.5, you can pin and weld, and then you don't have to get an SBR tax stamp. You're still going to need one for your suppressor, but at least you can save $200 and not have a 2-stamp gun. Obviously, I don't have a problem with 2-stamp guns. It's kind of my thing, but still. Don't discount the right magazines. A lot of people cheap out on magazines. The magazine is one of the most important things. While it's not really part of your rifle build, if your magazine doesn't work, your rifle is not going to be reliable. Magpul Gen 3 window PMags. These are my favorites. Pretty much all I run, although I do kind of love these custom Duramags from MLG Customs, Matt Gore. They just look sexy as hell. I've got a bunch of them. They're cool. They're great for taking pictures, but you know what? And they're reliable. I've not had any problem with these. But like Hex mags or, I don't know, I can't even think of like all the cheap brand mags, but there's some that just suck. They're not worth your money. Why spend $8 on a mag that might not be reliable when you can spend $12 on one that you know will be reliable? I've never had an issue with these Gen 3 window PMags. You know what I have had an issue with? It's not here right now. The new Magpul T-Mag. I tried it out for the first time when I went out shooting to make this video, and I had a problem. I had a round that just didn't feed. And I even tried to, off camera, I tried to rack the bolt like 3 more times and it didn't feed that round. Fuck the Magpul T-Mags. The P-Mags are awesome. Sorry for my language. Anyway, This was how to build the perfect rifle according to Sawtooth Tactical. Let me know what your perfect rifle is down in the comments. What your dream rifle build is. Let me know whether you have it or whether it's just something that you want to put together. I promise you, you can. I'm not a rich man, but I buy one part at a time until I have the rifle that I want. And then I've got something that is reliable, accurate, soft shooting, and something that I can take pride in and protect my family and know that it's going to work no matter what. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Make sure you subscribed. From Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.